Screw it. I mean, again, conventional wisdom works for conventional people doing conventional things. You want to do it your way? Do it your way. That's why we became entrepreneurs to begin with, so that we could do it our own way. All right, rule number 10. Yes, rule number 10 and the $80,000 email. Rule number 10 is that it's a conversation and a process. It's a conversation and a process. It is not you just spewing out information about you all the time to people who are fairly indifferent. It's a give and a take. And it's over time. It's not necessarily something that happens overnight. You know, I've built up my list over years, and I often have people sign up for courses, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been reading your emails for like 5 years. I'm like, good, glad you finally decided to take the plunge. But, you know, it takes time. It takes time. So here's, and email, like I said, is uniquely qualified to be part of a larger sales process. So here's the story of the $80,000 email. A couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to offer a high-end program, something much more intensive and expensive than anything I had ever offered before. And I wasn't sure if it was going to work because, you know, again, my list is mostly creatives. People are generally kind of broke, or they tell me they are, and I just never offered anything like it. I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like doing it. But like all lists, there were people in there who were just waiting for me to offer something more expensive and intensive. So if you're holding off on offering a high-end program, don't. If you think, oh, there's nobody on my list who wants that. No, no, no. They do want it. They don't want the $200 thing that you're offering. They want the more expensive thing. They're waiting for you to offer that, right? So I sent out this email so I didn't make a sales page. I didn't make a video. I didn't have a website for it. I didn't do anything. I just sent this email that said, I'm offering this more expensive, more intensive course called Creative Genius CEO, and you know, I've never done anything like it before. I may never do it again, and here's kind of what it's about. And it was quite a long email, and it talked about who it's for. You know, if you're at this kind of a place, if you're dealing with these kinds of questions, if you want this kind of support, you know, here's what the thing's going to look like. And it didn't say anything about the price, or even really very many details about like how many calls there were or anything like that. It just said that it was a 6-month program, which at the time it was. And then the call to action in the email was I invited people to fill out the application. And I said, fill out this application even if you are 100% sure there is no way on God's green earth that you are ever going to work with me. Because the action of answering the questions can move you down the road. It can be a valuable learning, teaching moment just to answer these questions, which is true. So I invited people to fill out the questionnaire, and the questionnaire was, I don't know, it was 8 or 10 questions, and it was stuff, you know, what's your vision for your business? What do you think is holding you back? What gets in your way? I don't know, some other things. And then they submitted that, and they got an email right away. So this is all set up inside Infusionsoft, but you can set it up. You can do it manually, and you can also set it up inside of a lot of different other email service providers as well. So they got an email automatically right back that said, "Yay, you filled out the application. That's great. We'll take a look at it." And then I would take a look at it, and if I felt like they were potentially a match for the program, they got a second email that said, "Hey, we've taken a look at your application. We think it looks really terrific. If you would like to talk to Sam more about the program, book a time on my time trade," and it gave them a link to make an appointment with me. And if you just filled it out for fun or as an experiment, don't worry about it. No harm, no foul. Have a nice day. So then they would book an appointment on the time trade, and then the time trade instructed them to call me at the appointed hour, and then I'd get them on the phone, and I'd say, this is great, we've got about 20 minutes here to talk about this program and whether or not it might be right for you. Tell me more about what's going on with you, and I would make notes, right? I would write down what they were saying. And then, again, if I felt like it was a good match, I would say, well, I think this program might be, might be kind of fun for you. would you like me to tell you the details of the program? And they'd say, sure. And I would tell them the details of the program. And then I would say, do you have any questions? And they'd say they either did or they didn't. And then I would say, are you ready to talk about the money? And they'd say, yeah. And I'd say, are you sure? Are you sitting down? Do you have a glass of water? They go, okay. And then I would tell them how much the program was, which at the time I think was, I don't know, $10,000 or $12,000, something like that. And then there was this silence, right? So you know what the rule, right? State your price, then stop talking. So I would state the price, and then stop talking. And there would be this silence that some people would describe as uncomfortable, maybe, but I love it. I feel like it's like watching bread rise. It's this moment when people are going, wow, could I really invest in myself at that level? Do I really believe in myself that much? Do I believe in my mission that much? Am I ready for that kind of rocket fuel? You know, like what would that mean if I were to take a plunge like that? Like you can almost hear their brains crackling, you know, as they're thinking about all this. And then they would say whatever they'd say, you know, they'd say, wow, that sounds great. I have to, you know, they'd say, do you take American Express? They'd say, I have to talk to my partner. They'd say, what about this? They'd, you know, and then we would deal with those objections and or whatever, and they would either enroll in the program or not. And I had at least 8 people in that program, so like I said, it generated at least $80,000, probably more than that if I actually sat down to do the math. And it was super duper satisfying. I've done it 3 years since. I'm going to do it again, I think, this coming year, and it's going to be different, but better. So that's using email as part of an overall sales process. And what I really want you to notice about it is how much it set up the entire dynamic of the course that I was creating, right? Because it says, okay, here's the email. Now you fill out an application. Now you book an appointment with me. Now you call me at the appointed time. Now you answer all these questions. It's sort of making them jump over these hurdles, because the whole point of a VIP program like that is it's your work that's going to get you there. It's not my work. It's not me doing it. I'll create the container. I'll create the space. I'll give you as much help and advice as I can, but it's you. And so I wanted that process from the very beginning to say, no, you are going to have to keep stepping forward. So the enrollment process mimicked one of the key values of the course. Does that make sense? And then I also had all these applications with all these words and phrases that people were using to describe what they wanted, what was getting in their way, all that stuff. So that, and you use that for blog posts, you use that for subject lines, I'd use it for just for inspiration, I'd use it just to vibe out where people were at. It's super duper valuable. So that's the secret to my $80,000 email. And again, we'll do a super deep dive on that in the Write Great Emails course. I'll show you, you'll get the actual email itself. I'll show you why it's set up the way it is, what about the formatting of it and the questionnaire and all that really worked for people. Rachel says, thanks.